Hey there. I forgot this part yesterday, so I'm going to give it to you today. This is some Narc Kryptonite. And what we're going to do, we're going to talk about the word indifference. This is where I started off with indifference. And I'm a man of words and writing, so I pay attention to different things and I like to connect the dots. I do something called lateral thinking, lateral logic, where I take a word and I look up all the synonyms connected to that word. So we're starting with the word indifference. Indifference is the narcissist's kryptonite. You know how Superman had that kryptonite and he got superpowers from it and he weakened his opponents, the kryptones or whatever, kryptonites? Well, this is what we have in our power toolbox for narcissists in any kind of narkiness or narcissistic people, places, or things. Okay? And that word is indifference. Detachment is one that's immediately connected to it. Detachment, indifference. And then next you have something else here connected to it. There in bold over to the right is apathy towards. Having apathy towards a person, place, or thing. Being detached, obliviousness, uninvolved in or with them, disinterested, stoicism, lack of concern about, lack of interest in. The reason I'm doing this is to give you a tool to work with, to develop and cultivate that towards or in certain situations when you are dealing with narcissists and narcissistic situations too, right? Bad situations, but generally I'm speaking of when you're dealing with certain people. Disregard for, whoops, we need to make it bigger. Come on. Here we go. Disregard for, and then when I looked up the synonyms for detachment was a synonym for indifference. But now you can take that trail as far as you want when you're looking to cultivate this quality of indifference. Okay, because you're not just cultivating indifference, you see, there's all these other qualities now that are connected and linked to that quality that you can also reach out to, because they're a little different. They're synonyms, they're very similar, but they're also a little different. And the more of these different words and synonyms you connect with this quality, and the more time you spend doing this, the more of this quality you're going to begin to develop and be able to use in the way that you need to. The synonyms with detachment include disunion, dissolution, and in the court systems we call them dissos. When I used to help people fill out their divorce forms at the self-help centers out here in LA, they would say this is a disso when they'd register them in triage and have me ready to assist them. They'd call them dissos. This is a disso. This is a child custody. This is a name change. Or this litigant here is a restraining order. Okay, so we call them dissos. And what does that mean? There's a death. Dissolution is linked to death. It is a synonym of death. And this is why I use the death tarot card, the archetype of death, in my personal system of developing and cultivating and continue to grow indifference and detachment in certain situations where that is required. Death is not what most people think of, especially when you're dealing in symbolic terms and in occult terms. Division, divorce, this is still connected to detachment. Division, disunion, disengagement, disengaging with the narcissist, disengagement with that situation, disengagement with that place, disengagement, partitioning, severing, disjoining, splitting up, separation. Okay? So when you look at indifference, did you think that there would be a, does it necessarily have splitting and partitioning and disunion and cutting off and separating? Did you make that immediate connection with the word indifference at the beginning of this? I certainly didn't. I knew apathy was lack of concern or lack of interest, right? I knew that. And disengagement, yes, that's yeah, detachment. But you see, the more you look at this and you kind of think on it and let your mind really get into this, the easier it will become. Like I said, this has to be a regular thing. You can't just look at it a couple of times and really get this. But when you need to be dealing with a narcissist, even if you're dealing with traumas and injuries that you've had from past abuse in dealings with these types, there are pockets of that. Of course, I'm not saying you just want to completely, like, in an unhealthy sense, not think about it ever, blah, 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 and just let it all go. It doesn't happen like that. You can't just get over it. And some of this stuff you're going to be processing for a lifetime until the grave. Okay? Who knows? We all are different, but you've got to be able to make room for that possibility that you're going to be dealing with this until you die. Okay? But yet and still, it doesn't mean that you have to be enslaved or miserable or suffer, you see, because this type of indifference that you're doing is a healthy, balanced sense of detachment here. Okay? Now, you have the word aloofness here, unbothered, unconcerned, neutrality, neutral, objectivity, coldness, cold shoulder, stoicism, disinterestedness, lack of interest, okay, obliviousness to, uninvolved with, okay, we already went down there, immunity, being immune to what that narc is trying to do all over again. Hard shell. I don't know how to pronounce this word. I'm not originally from this country, so I will always use that as an excuse, even though I'm a writer. I think this is insouciance. Insouciance. Yeah, insouciance. Okay, insouciance. Okay, first time ever seeing that word, so I learned a new word today doing this, mind map. But basically, the words linked to it are hard shell and unresponsiveness. Impenetrable shell. This is why you do grounding things. This is boundaries. Boundaries. That's really what you could connect to hard shell. Boundaries, or a military mode even, right? Like the Four of Discs. That's one of the tarot cards I also use, is the Four of Discs. Because that's a military mode. That's boundaries, protection, hard shell. So let's take a look at, and death right here, that's connected. That's why I use the death card, the archetype of death, the tarot card. That's why people do work with those particular archetypes. You see? Now, on the back of it, I wanted to trace and follow the path down dissolution a little bit further. And some of the colors there bled through, so excuse that. But as you see, dissolution, of course, death is a connection to that. But also, we have division. Again, division, separating, parting, divorce. And in legal terms, that's what the term is, dissolution. In legal terms, they don't say divorce, they say dissolution, detachment. And with dissolutions, well, look at that. You have another synonym called resolution. Dissolution and resolution are synonyms. And you can follow this trail yourself. Google. Start with dissolution here and look up the synonyms for dissolution, and you'll see all these other words. Resolution. And when you look up the synonyms for resolution, you're going to find some interesting connections here. So just from dissolution, we go to resolution. Dissolution and resolution. And yes, a dissolution is a resolution for these two people to no longer be together. That is their resolve, right? That is the legal system's resolve here, that this marriage is no longer. Okay, there is a legal problem here. These two people no longer want to be married. They no longer want to have to do these legal things that are required when you are married, right? They no longer want to be responsible together, legally speaking. So if one person makes a bad credit, or messes up on their taxes, the other person doesn't want to be responsible anymore because they don't want to be married. They don't want to be together with this person anymore, right? And vice versa. So they have to have a resolution. The resolution requires that you go through the legal process in the court system. Okay, that means you have to file for divorce, and then you have to do this, and you have to bring in all your financials, and you have to let them know when did you get married, and what were your financial matters before you were married and after were you married, and what was yours together while you were married, if you are in a community property state. If you are lucky enough to not be in a community property state, perhaps it may be different, and it may be much easier for you to keep what's yours and let them have what's theirs. But if you are in a community property state, everything that you have, half of that belongs to your spouse. That's the law. So anyway, I went off on a tangent there. But the resolution, there's a problem, right? So now the dissolution is the resolution. It is the resolution, the answer, the resolution for that problem, right? But with that, when you look at resolution here, and the synonyms connected to resolution, you have intent. The intent is to divorce. The intent is to split, right? When you have a resolve, or when you've made a resolution to become a healthier person in some way, that's your intent, right? There's your perseverance, right? Because this is ongoing. This isn't just for now. This is it. There is purpose with the intent, with the resolution, right? Another synonym to resolution is willpower. Willpower. Narcs want to whittle down your willpower, and they use everything they can. They'll drain your energy. They'll manipulate you. They'll love bomb you, whatever it is. They've got so many tricks up their sleeve, because that's the problem there. If you have your own willpower and strong enough willpower, the narc can't mess with you. They cannot touch you, you see. Decidedness, staying power. Once you've made a resolution, a resolve to go no contact, it is staying power, tenacity, fortitude, you see. Resoluteness, spirit, spunk. Relentlessness, doggedness, constancy. See, a lot of people don't know why I use that term, why I have certain terms over others. Well, this is why. You see, when I describe myself as relentless, that's what I mean. That is exactly what I mean. And I know this English language a lot better than some of the native-born Americans here, by the way. You know, I know these words much, much better than some of the people born here because I doubt that a lot of these folks would ever go so far as to do these types of things to make and connect the dots and really understand the English words, the words that they're using, and what they actually mean, right? But today, here, this is what we're doing. We're not going to be like those people. We are going to have a bigger perspective of this, as well as getting into the details and the dissolutions of things. So, back to that Narc Kryptonite. Narc Kryptonite. When you're dealing with them this holiday season or any time, doesn't have to be the holidays, keep these particular things in mind and you can continuously work on that. I have certain tools that I use, but I'm sure you have your own. But if you're into tarot cards, I definitely would encourage you to use the tarot cards, and there's all kinds of creative ways to do it. For example, if I want to detach from a situation or an event, whether it be in the past or in the future, upcoming, I will visualize myself in the experience, and I will be with a protective sphere around me with pentagrams at every quarter, and it's impenetrable protective sphere of light. I also have where I will take the tarot card, the death archetype, and I will take that image and superimpose it. I'll make it huge, very, very large, bigger than the entire earth, you know, cosmically large, and I will superimpose that image onto the experience, and I will embody the energy and the quality of that inwardly for as much as I can, as large as I can, as intense as I can. And, you know, it takes some time. Like, this isn't just, you know, a light switch. But once I get it to a certain level, I can either keep it inside and project it inwardly onto the experience, but I also can project it outwardly into, like, if I'm doing future tensing or future rehearsal, I'll project it into the future. And this is something I do. I repeat that. I do layers of that over and over and over and over. I get my emotions involved. In this sense, I don't have any emotions, so the whole point is to detach, to be indifferent, and so I work to do that. And of course, I have my tools that already, you know, I've done this for years and 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 years. So, you know, it's a muscle that you're building constantly when you're doing this. And the at some point it happens. You're going to be noticing things. You're going to be a lot freer. You're going to just not be bothered where you might have been bothered before, or you're going to notice you're not as bothered as much anymore, and you're able to have a lot more freedom and peace when you're dealing with these people, places, and things. So, yep, this is what I wanted to show you today, right quick. I figured I'd share it. It's a really great tool. You can use this if you want, but I really would just encourage you to do this yourself. It takes all of 5 minutes. You don't have to do any coloring or anything like I did. Just create yourself a mind map of the quality of indifference, detachment, and, you know, work these qualities up. Work that quality of indifference up on a daily basis if you have to prepare. You know, I don't know where you're at on this journey, what your schedule is, what your situation is, but I would just, me personally, I'm going to be doing it daily. I've already started it because I already know this holiday season, I already preempt some things in my personal situation, as I do all the time. And that's probably why I have more peace than anything, because I'm very preemptive. So this can be a preemptive move for those of you who are also preemptive like me. You know, I think this is just a wonderful tool I've just kind of thrown out there, and it's one of my ones that I'm using. And that's about it, you know. See if you can do this yourself, a couple of minutes. get it down on paper, put a couple of colors down, and get your tarot card out, get the death card and the four of coins, or if you have the Toph deck, the four of discs that has the military moat. And I really like that image as far as boundaries and protection. I mean, it just hits home on so many levels. And also the death tarot card archetype. Of course, those of us who are advanced in this kind of thing, we know it's not what it seems, so we're not afraid of the death card. Okay, it doesn't mean someone's gonna die. You know what I mean? It's an archetype. It's a symbol. There's so much more meaning to the word death than what most people would understand. Even some of these people that are new agers, and they have the memorabilia, but they really don't know and understand, trust me. But they'll wear the clothes and try to sell you the gimmicks too, all the little pretty crystals. I mean, hey, nothing wrong with crystals or tarot cards or clothes or whatever, but these are just tools. You really have to do the work yourself. You don't rely on these tools to do it for you. So anyway, so that's that. Thanks for listening. Talk to you soon.